Hi guys, welcome back to another episode here on the podcast. This is just the beginning. Now today is going to be a bit of a different episode, and I know I haven't recorded one in a while, but today I wanted to go straight into the topic of today. And as you can see from the title, we're talking all about the sense of community and belonging. If we're going to get straight into it, I think we should really start with trying to unravel the definition of community. This kind of community has been around as long as we've lived. As long as humans have lived, as long as animals have lived, there is a community in every sense. Since the caveman times, we've always needed to fit in. If not, you're outcasted and you don't belong to the group of people if you're different to other people. And it's the same with animals. If you've ever seen a wildlife documentary, perhaps if one of the animals in the herd of animals or the pack of animals can't walk or they're not the same as the other animals, they're not as strong, they get left behind. And I think we can really use this, not even as a metaphor, but as a true anecdote for what it is to belong in the human world, because it's a lot more in depth with us humans, because we have the power to talk, we have social media, we have always had a larger sense of community in both a good and bad way. The traditional kind of definition of a community has kind of lies around the idea of a geographical region. So your nationality and your nation, part of a tribe, part of a town. Like if you think of community, a lot of people would just think we use that word when we're in a town, when seeing people on your street. That's a community, and usually it's a good thing, and you share all these different values of what it means to be in a community, you know, being honest, being helpful, being useful, being proactive, always being there for the people, listening, all of these things. And I think that is the sense and the set of values that we can take into any kind of sense of community. And that's why I find this topic really quite interesting, because as I've said, we've always needed this sense of a community, and from there a sense of belonging. And a belonging, if you don't know this, I mean, where have you been? If you've never heard of the Maslow's hierarchy triangle, definitely look it up. And it's been used in so many different research papers, so many journals, and just in everyday life. And the triangle sets up as the core kind of things we need to succeed in life in a way. So it's food and shelter, and it goes up in a hierarchy, in a triangle, in like kind of a pyramid. And the underlying core of it is that we strive to belong, as it is an essential trait for humans, because we are social beings. We, like any animal really, any pack animal, we're the same. We need to be around people, and that's why it is hard when perhaps during school times you kind of feel like you're a loner and you're outcasted because you're not like anyone else. You don't drink, you don't party, you're not sporty. And I think it is really hard, and I'm going to go deeper into the idea of belonging at school, because that is a really good topic to talk about. And I think it is really hard to find that kind of sense of belonging when you're growing up through your teenage lives. And as I said, I'll go into this in a second, but nowadays there's so many new kind of senses and definitions of community where anything can be a community. And I think this is really amazing that as humans we've evolved this sense of belonging and community to something that everyone can find kind of hope in. The fact that, for example, at university, which is also something I'll talk about later, there's a society, so a club for anything you want, anything you're interested in, sport, religion, hobbies, etc. And just for me, that is such a good thing to have, because you don't have these kind of platforms everywhere. And I think with the rise of social media as well, especially, this idea of community has evolved beyond what we could have ever hoped for. And anyone can find a sense of belonging within within a community on social media. If you've heard of Reddit, that is and I suppose Twitter as well, but that is just a fantastic way to reach out to people who are like you. And there's a Reddit kind of page for absolutely anything that you could imagine, and then you can connect to people about that topic. And I think that is just literally insane that there is a thing for that. And that's why this topic is just so interesting to me. And I'm going to delve deeper into the idea of, from community and from belonging, we have this need to fit in with people. And again, that's been around for centuries, decades, however long you want to say. And especially with how evolved our society is right now and how we're becoming a lot more tolerable and a lot more kind of wanting everyone to belong and wanting to accept everyone as we should, because every human is the same. There's no outliers, there's no outcast people, there's no one's weird as you might think people are, and we are all the same, and we all just strive to belong and have friends and to have people that we can confide in and support each other. And that's why this topic does mean a lot to me. Going on to school now, I think we can all agree that having watched high school TV shows, films, and seen on social media with our generation having grown up, um, there's a huge desire for popularity at school. And I can say honestly that I was a person who really strived to be popular because I saw that that was how you were kind of successful and known at school. And I didn't know until kind of my final year at school when I was 17, 18 that no one really cares. It's only those people who are classed as popular, the kind of cool group. You can tell I wasn't in that group by saying it like that, but you can tell that those were the only people that cared. And it's interesting to see that in that group throughout my whole time at school, and it's not just my school, it's probably every other year group, every other school, those people don't let anyone else into their group. And in contrast, my group of friends was kind of the biggest group of friends, I want to say, in the year group, because we just allowed anyone into our group. And throughout the years, everything changed a lot with people coming in, coming out, and it was just so lovely that our group just accepted anyone, and especially all the new people in sixth form when everyone kind of left and came over and stuff. We, because the school merged with ours, and we just accepted literally so many people into our group. And it's not about accepting it; it was just about, it wasn't about who they were, who they are, and they are lovely people, and we were just like, we don't care. We want our group to be bigger. You don't have to be pretty or like drinking or be sporty to be in our group, as the popular group was. And I'm in a different position because I grew up at primary school with all of these kind of popular kids, and I was very sporty at school. I was in all the sports team, and so I was kind of on the cusp of everything. I was known in the school, and I did take that for granted. I didn't really realize back then like how much like I didn't struggle with that, because I know a lot of people did struggle with not being invited to things. And that's why in my group, me and my sister hosted so many parties and get-togethers and invited people who may not have been invited to other things, because we just wanted people to feel like they belonged. And that's what I loved doing. I loved inviting people who kind of sat in the corner in the classroom and didn't speak a lot, and I'd be like, do you want to come to my house for the weekend? Do you want to go to this little gathering? Don't worry, it's not a big party. I just kind of phrase it like that, and we had so many new people each time, and it was so good. And I remember one thing kind of to do with popularity is that in I remember, I think it was year 12, just before lockdown, I was in this dance competition show, and I just entered as a solo. I quit dance at school, but I still wanted to do a solo, and I did this piece, and I think it was pretty good. Looking back now, I found a video of it, and I was like, that was pretty good. And I remember after the show, because it was a show where loads of the school came to watch as well, especially the older year groups, and I remember doing the show, and I got messages from mostly guys, but also some girls like, I didn't know you danced. And like they still knew me because they had me on social media and stuff. And I just remember like seeing with like loads of messages from people going, wow, like people do know me. And I don't know, I felt a lot better about that. But as I said, I know that I'm in a different position to other people, but it is a weird thing that we strive to be popular, but it's not weird because we just want to belong, and we think that being popular is the key, like the core of belonging, especially in school. And if we don't get invited to a party and we see it posted all over social media, like this wasn't a problem a few decades ago, like when our parents were growing up, because they didn't see it posted anywhere. Like if there was a party, you wouldn't know about it unless people were talking about it all the time at school the next day, because like you just didn't see it everywhere. And now when we do see it posted everywhere, we do start to feel like we don't really belong, and we are a bit of an outlier because you might be the only one that hasn't been invited, and it does suck. And I've been in that position a couple times, and I remember trying to get invites to a lot of parties because I was just like, I wanted to fit in, and I thought that that was what I had to do to fit in. And it wasn't at all. And I had my own group of friends, but I still had this need to belong to the kind of popular group. But then I got to age 16, I think it was, and I was like, I don't care. I have the best friends in the world. They're always there for me, and everyone in this popular group, no one belonged in that group because they all talked about each other behind their backs. And that, I didn't understand that, how they were supposed to be best friends and they always went out together, they always did everything together. And then suddenly, if one person in their group wasn't there that day, they talk about them all day. And I just felt so sad for that one person. And I always wanted to message them saying, do you know how shit your friends are? But one of my best friends during school, she was in that group. And I always tried to get out of it. Not in like a pushy way, but when we got to sixth form level, like she understood how toxic those girls were, and I kept saying like, just literally come sit with us at lunch and come be with us. Like she cried literally every day during our last year at school, and I was like, you've been with them long enough, you know, like because everyone in my group knew her as well. So I was like, you can just come sit with us, and she just felt like she had to be with them all the time and go to their parties. And she did not like drinking, she did not like partying, and I felt so sorry for her that she still didn't really understand that you could just say no, because again she probably strived to be in that group her whole life and then she was finally accepted. And it is a difficult thing not kind of fitting in with the popular group when we're kind of brought up with the idea that you have to be popular, especially if your parents were popular or they're sporty and they want you to be sporty. And it's so much harder if you're not sporty and if you don't like drinking, because you think that you have to be those two things in order to be popular. And again, I'm in a different kind of area because I did do those two things, but that didn't mean I was popular, which was also kind of like an empowering thing, that I still did everything that they did, but I was just kind of like on my own in my own group, and I loved it so much. And it was harder because my brother, a couple of years ahead of me, he was the one boy in the year that everyone knew. He was super popular rugby lad, and it was harder with that. But then the school kind of knew me based off that, so I didn't mind that. But it was harder with him being top of the school kind of thing. Especially during these years, though, being a teenager, we're already trying to, well, we are already going through the journey of who am I? And I don't know anyone who hasn't had a breakdown about trying to find out who they are, whether it's just literally who you are or what you believe in, your sexuality. That is a huge thing during the teenage years. And it can be so hard. No, it is hard. But I hope that even now, it's still really hard, even though we're supposed to be a very cohesive and accepting society. It's still really hard for people to battle their sexuality, their gender, their values, their beliefs, because it is hard to still come out about not just sexuality but about anything. It's so hard to tell people that you're not like them, and I feel like that can take away the sense of belonging if you feel like you're different from everyone else. But I think people need to remember that you're not different. You're a human. That's who we are. We're all the same, and there's no weird people. There's no, I keep saying outcast. There is no outcast. We're all the same people. And I think it's taking us way too long to realize that. And we should definitely work on that a lot harder in our society, in our groups, and ditch the whole popularity thing at school, because we're already going through enough already during those teenage lives. And high school just rips us to shreds. And I'm surprised how many people make it out of high school. And I feel like as soon as you turn 18, like especially in sixth form, most of us just did not give a fuck. We just wanted to be ourselves, and that worked so much better. And then if you didn't want to go to a party, if you didn't want to go to an event, you didn't have to. And yeah, they still had those people who judged you for not doing that and judged you for not going to prom or after prom or the parties or the big house parties. Like, but I learned quickly on that it doesn't matter. Even though I still strive to be popular, I still just didn't. I stopped him trying to invite myself to parties at age 16. I was like, Ellie, it's not going to work. Stop. You've got a good group of friends. You don't need to be popular. Like, what are you doing? And I felt guilty for doing that. And then I realized, yeah, it's not the be all and end all. I still fit in with my group. I still have my mini community and I belong there. With this, also, I've talked about this, I don't know how many times, but this idea of belonging, especially at school, comes comparison. And it can be really hard to battle that, especially at school, if you're not a person who if you don't drink, if you don't party, if you don't do those things, you can instantly feel like you don't belong. Especially when you get a little bit older, especially at university, which again I'll go on to here. But And then you start comparing lives, especially post on social media. You start thinking like, oh, they have such a good life because they post every weekend they're out partying, and I'm just sat here with my parents reading a book every night. But then find comfort in that. Find comfort that you're not getting wasted every weekend, and you spend the time studying instead. Because that's what I did. Yeah, I still went to parties. I still had parties. I still had a drink. You know what I mean? But I wasn't worrying about not going to parties. And even now, I think going into your 20s, it's about you have to be out every Saturday night. You can't be in on a Saturday night. I love having a night in. I feel so much better about it, and I hate waking up with a hangover the next day. And I'd rather just like my definition of having a good night is going out for a few drinks in the pub, if the football's on, in the beer garden in the summer. That is my definition of a good night out. Yeah, have a couple more drinks than you're meant to, but not get absolutely bladdered. Like just have like gin and tonic or beer. You know what I mean? Just not have vodka cokes as you do on a night out or shots. And those nights are my favorite nights when there's like 20 of you sitting outside in the summer, and I'm literally getting so excited for that this summer. But returning to the topic, I think that high school does rip us to shreds, and it's a horrible place. And during those years, all we want to do is belong. And throughout our whole lives, we want to belong. But it's especially harder in school if you don't feel like you fit in. But trust me, you do fit in. There are other people like you. And that leads me on to the next topic about university. What I love about university is that there is no popularity. There's thousands of students at your university. Each and every single person is different, okay? And it's something that I found kind of weird, having grown up with this sense of popularity through my own experience and through social media, through um, high school dramas, etc. I found it kind of weird that there were no like popular groups. But then I grew to love it because you can just fit in with, hopefully, you get on with the people in your flat or in your house. And luckily, most people kind of do, I think. And I did. And I absolutely loved them, even though I was not social at all last year. I mean, I was to start with, but then I had a huge breakdown and, I just wasn't. But I still got on with them. I still tried to do stuff with them. And this year, again, as I've explained in past episodes, that I'm as social as ever, even though I still have huge anxiety about things and I don't go to things. I didn't go to an event on Friday, which really got to me because I was so looking forward to it. But you can't help social anxiety affecting you at some point. So it happens, but I moved past it. And yesterday I spent the whole day being social. And that's why I love university, because you just click with people. And coming back to the idea of a community, at university there's so many societies, and the word in itself, the name of society, just senses belonging, community, shared values, shared interests. And if you haven't gone to uni, or you are a bit younger, or you are not quite familiar with the university setup, there is a society, so a club, like an extracurricular club for absolutely anything, any religion, any music genre, any sport, any interest you may have. There's even a cheese and wine society. Like that just kind of says that there is literally one for absolutely anything. And yeah, you kind of hear more about the sports societies. So I did hockey last year, and different societies do have a different kind of sense of fitting in. And I think the sports societies, it is so much harder to find this kind of belonging in there, because there is, like, even though they say we're not going to pressure anyone to drink, you still have pressure to drink, because you don't want to be that person who just has water all night when you're at a social and you've got to down a pint. You don't want to be that person, but if you don't drink and you don't enjoy it, you shouldn't have to feel like you don't fit in. And don't get me wrong, I love socials, I love downing a pint, all those things, but I just found it really hard to do it every single week. So eventually I stopped. And then if you don't go to the socials, you don't feel like you fit in at training, because everyone gets really friendly at socials. And that's why I kind of had to quit hockey, because I couldn't keep up with the social side, and that kind of jeopardized my position in the team. And I felt like I just didn't belong. And that was really sad, because I've loved hockey for a decade now. And God, that is crazy. But I had to drop out because of the pressure I felt at university, and it wasn't fun. And I really hated that I felt like I had to pull out. When no, like I knew the exec, so the kind of leaders of the society, like I knew them well enough, and they were always there to say, oh, if anyone wants to chat, we're there for you, we can help sort stuff out. So when I messaged them saying, yeah, I'm pulling out, they were really surprised, they were really shocked, and they were really sad. And they were like, what can we do to make you stay? What can we do to change it? Is it the pressure? And I didn't want to be open with them at first, but then I thought, no, I am going to tell them that it is just hard sometimes, especially the fact that I didn't go to a boarding school or a school where hockey was the main focus. So I wasn't as good as everyone else in the team, and I did feel a bit out of the loop. And they all knew each other's schools, they all knew each other, and it was just a crazy experience going and realizing that everyone knows everyone from around the country. And yeah, I didn't like, I still went to a private school, but no one knew my school, and I found that was kind of weird, the fact that they knew every other school but mine, because my school wasn't big on sport. As soon as I've left, it's huge on sport now. But if it was big on sport, it was only either the boys rugby or rowing, and those were the only two things that they cared about. Hockey, yeah, like our team won loads, like counties, nationals, we won loads, but it just wasn't talked about. Whereas if the rugby team came third in an event, they'd be talked about, going, oh, the commitment that they came third, but good sportsmanship. Like, we weren't talked about. And again, the fact that hockey wasn't a huge thing definitely jeopardized my position, feeling like I belonged. And that made me feel really sad. And then I had a huge breakdown about where do I belong at uni. And I had many months at home off from uni about that. But then I realized, who cares if you don't fit into a society? There's hundreds more. And now I'm part of the Taylor Swift Society, and I have never felt more welcome in a place ever. So if anyone's listening to this who's part of it, or the president maybe, it is an amazing place. It's the most welcoming society ever, and I love it because people help you all the time if you have a problem, and there's so many events, and everyone loves Taylor Swift, and then you share other interests connected to that. And that's why I think university societies are such a good idea, because it is such a lovely place to be with people and to share your beliefs and your music interest. At uni as well, we learn that we can just be ourselves, and that's how we can belong and make friends. Because at the end of the day, no one likes fake people. You grow out of that at high school, and then if you carry on with that to university, in my experience and from what I've seen, you don't make many friends because you're still in this high school bubble, and you still don't accept other people, and you still think, oh, that guy in my flat's really weird, I'm not going to talk to him. You need to snap out of that. You're at uni where everyone is there to learn, thus you already all have a shared connection. And so the friends I'm with right now don't drink loads like I'd like to. I always mention, can we go to the pub tonight? It's sunny. I want to sit outside, watch the football. And most of the time they're like, no, let's stay in. And it is annoying, but I've also learned to accept that everyone's not like me. And I still enjoy watching a movie with them at night. And I enjoy that more now, actually. And it is so fun and interesting, the fact that I felt like I've belonged more than ever right now, even though I'm dropping out of uni for a year. And I still love the idea that I can connect with these people, even though I don't play football, because there's a lot of guys in the flat and it can be harder to connect with guys and girls kind of thing. They don't like Taylor Swift. Like, there's not main interest that we connect with, but we connect on kind of another sense that we're all at uni together, we all live together, and we like each other. We all get on, and that is another sense of belonging. You don't have to have all these shared beliefs, but you can still be friends, and that's what, again, I just love about university. So if you're thinking about going to uni, definitely try and be rid of this pressure to fit in, because you will fit in anywhere. And if not, that's not on you. Just be yourself, and it will go your way, trust me. I'm gonna end this episode now with kind of just talking about social media and the fact that how powerful it is, that in a good way, because I always flag it off, but in a good way, anything can be on social media. If you think about Reddit or Twitter or any other social media platform, there is an account and a following for anything you can imagine. And I think that is just absolutely incredible. I connect with so many people, again, through my blog and my podcast. That is my own community, and I love sharing with you guys, and it is so fun. And I make this own little community. Yeah, it might not be huge, but it's still this little bubble of friends, or not even friends, just people who share the same interests and share the same desire to improve themselves and to listen to important things. And I think I want to grow this community, for one, and anyone and anything could be a community right now. And it's just incredible with social media. So I'm so grateful for it, because I wouldn't be able to do this right now without social media being created. And that's why anything now can be a community. There can be a community of two people. You know what I mean? Like, it can just be based on anything. It's not just about a town, etc. And that's what I've really learned over the last few years. And that's kind of just what I'm going to end it on. I don't have a lot to say about the social media part of it. just that you can just follow anyone, anything, and have a great kind of experience with chatting to the same people who love the same things as you do. And then you might connect with people from all over the world. That is what is so interesting, because you can connect with millions of people. And that's my aim as well right now. So I'm going to end this podcast here. It's a bit shorter than usual, but I've said everything I kind of wanted to say. So yeah, I'm going to end it here. And I hope you have a fantastic day. It is gorgeous weather in the UK right now. So I'm probably going to go to the park with a book and just read by myself, because I can do that. I don't have to be with a group of people. I don't have to be with loads of friends. I can do stuff on my own, because I know where I stand. I know where I belong. And I hope you find that too. Just be yourself and you'll win people over just by that. So thank you for listening, and goodbye.